Okay, yes. Wendover. Present. Snyder. Here. Engels.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Dubravik. Taylor.
Here.
Bertles.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and ask for approval of the agenda. Do we want to stay with this agenda? I think at this point, Ed, I know you talked about...
I'd like to have us have a discussion on the record about organization.
Okay.
Just, I
We
mean,
can have a
it just lets
discussion.
the people know more in advance of what we're doing, that's all.
That's fine.
And I
Okay.
think it would be appropriate to add that after the public hearings, if that's, but wherever you
Maybe it
want.
should be under, would it be under new business, a discussion about
Could be.
officers? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that after the work application.
Okay, so I will change the agenda to read that will be item 2, which will be HDC organizational discussion.
Yep.
Under 6B or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor for that change in the...
Anyone make a motion to approve it?
Yeah, we need to have a
Ed?
motion.
I made a motion to do that.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Got it.
Okay, let's go on to public comments. I would like to point out that in the audience today, we have Joni Holly. And Joni is the new potential HDC member that is going to be, you're going to fill the application into the city council to be approved on September 21st at the council meeting?
The plan is at the next council meeting, which is actually next Monday, is essentially put her name in to be added to the Historic District Commission effective the first meeting in November.
Okay.
And depending how your bylaws read, it'll be to fulfill the rest of your term.
Okay, so we'll have to have that figured out.
And I'll word it,
Verified.
and it'll be, yeah. And now, again, I'll read that at the same time I check the organizational. It may say it's a 3-year term. It may say, effective for the remainder of your term. But that is the wording that I will put into council to...
Okay. Well, just a couple words about Joni, and I'm sure, she can fill us in at the next meeting, but she lives in the Historic District, right, Joni? And she's a realtor with Coldwell Banker, and has been for how many years? 10th year. And do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've lived in Cadillac for 27 years, and we bought a house in the Historic District before it was the Historic District. I know. We love being started out the groceries with gas. I have been captain for the fire department here in town for 25 years. Recently retired from there, and I got the cash in the office part-time to get out of the house because I'm not ready to be done.
Yeah. And you've enjoyed living in the Historic District, too. You live on Chapin Street, is that right?
No, we live on Cass.
Cass, okay. Great. What block?
400 follow-up day.
Yeah, which house?
What a neighborhood. What a neighborhood.
What an unfriendly neighbor I am.
You're not unfriendly.
Well, I don't know which house it is. Yeah. Well, anyway, we're looking forward to having you to join the Historic District Commission. I think your background with real estate is going to be very, very helpful. And you can be a good conduit to the realtors, as far as what's going on in the Historic District. And I think that's going to be very helpful. So,
That's very good.
yeah. And I know Joni has some great organizational skills, and she's looking forward to it. So I think this will be a great addition. Yeah. Future chair.
That's right. Great.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, do we have any edits to the August 10th meeting minutes? Does anyone have a motion to accept them as written?
I'll make a motion. We approve the August 10th
Second?
meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we don't have public hearing tonight, so let's go ahead and get started on the work application that we've got, Mike.
Yes, what we have is Angie Fairchild, who owns the home at 307 East Harris, submitted a construction activity application to change the windows that were in the home that happened to have had a lot of lead-based paint, on it, multiple coats, replace the wood windows, hi Gwen, come on in, replace the wood windows with some new Pella wood double-hung windows. She, as all of you are aware, started the construction essentially prior to getting permission from this commission. The staff report had a lengthy talk, I shouldn't say a lengthy talk, had a nice talk. I put some new information in front of you which had to do with the windows that have been put in so far. They are Pella, and she took that off of one of the windows. They are double hung. The picture I have up here was actually part of the file, the Historic District file. So this picture was actually taken 13 years ago. And the home is vinyl sided. In different areas there's clearly, vinyl trim, but the windows were wood. They were a double hung. They also had an aluminum storm that was covering the windows most recently, and that's what you kind of see in front of the front porch. Those were just the aluminum storms. She explained that the new Pella windows, the wood windows, the insulation factor is such they are not putting these back up. So these they're getting rid of. They actually saved one. I asked her to save one so that if you folks wanted to look at them further, you could, but the trim is just, the thin aluminum, it's a storm. And so she also had been working with, she said, the state of Michigan, and the information that I brought you today, she had been working with the, I assume the health department and everything, because one of her child has lead poisoning. And I know a little more details of that, but that's not to be shared, obviously. I was concerned because the individual, and I'm almost positive the individual that you'll see the name George with Healthy Homes of Michigan was one of the individuals she was working with. And there are links with that organization through like Michigan State Housing. And she was under the impression he had been talking with the city of Cadillac, whether that was people with the housing authority or whether that was the health department. I'm not sure. I've left a message for him to call me. He has not returned it. I just want a little more history of, because the impression I have is that, that appears to be the individual that said, change them. You're in a historic district. If, you can, wood to wood, you're good to go. Obviously, due to the health issue, they were, quick to do it. The house is in her name. So essentially, quite a few of the double-hung windows have already been, they've already been replaced. They've already been replaced. The day I got the email on it, I went over, the contractor was very nice, let me, I told him we essentially are not allowed to go past the sidewalk without permission, and he showed me the aluminum storms and showed me what they had done, and, he said, oh, these are, wood double hung. He's a contractor that, is approved by Pella. So, obviously it should have been checked, but that's some of the history of that. This, for example, is one of the brand new windows that was put in. And, obviously it, appearance-wise looks pretty similar to what was in it prior. not a lot of help, but it does, you know, the intent was to try and recapture the look. Along with that, this one here has not been replaced. This you can see off the alley, and you can clearly tell even from the alley that it's a wood window. And I have no idea if that one, what the status is of that one, but that was one in the back and obviously did not match the ones from the front. And that's actually the only window in the back, so I almost wonder if that may have been an addition that was done on the home at a later date. I do not know that. But that's on the very south side. You can see it from the alley. The front porch, they're basically repainting it. Stripped it. I don't know. My gut feeling is that it looks like it may have had vinyl siding on it before, but I'm sure they were told to get it off and see what lead paint is there. And but this, she said, they are repainting. So you folks will be seeing the porch repainted. So that is the intent with the front porch here. Just that's most of the information that I actually have on the home. You know, she is certainly aware that should have came before you folks first. She did not. We talked again on the phone today after she had dropped this information off. I was not here when she dropped it off. She will get a work application into you folks before they replace the asphalt shingles. She said they're right now trying to find a contractor to work on the roof. They have not found a contractor, but they have a roof leak up near the chimney, and they said the chimney needs some masonry repair, which they're going to do. And it's also been recommended that, you know, the house is due for re-roofing, and obviously look and see if there's any other areas where there may be leaks, but there clearly is a issue up near the chimney. And the chimney you can see, I'm assuming it's the one way off to the left here of the picture. So, you know,
She couldn't be here tonight, you said?
her job is 4 to 1 in the morning. And she said, I apologize, but I cannot be there Monday. So,
Is this all the windows in the house except for the one in the back that you were talking about that are being replaced?
yeah, there were a couple on the side which were double hung. It does not appear to me that this front picture window is being replaced at this time, but the double hung windows, the old double hung that had the lead-based paint, multiple coats of it, is definitely, all those are
Are the two windows to the side of the picture window being replaced also? I couldn't tell from the photo or the...
It did not appear to me that they have been. It appeared to me that that bay window in front is not being changed.
Anything in the bay window?
It, to me, does not appear so, no, not at all. The only thing I saw were double hung windows, you know, being hung. And the contractor let me look, and, you know, and this house has obviously had vinyl siding on it for quite a few years, because it goes back before we even had our district.
So these are wood windows with double hung with combination storms and screens.
She said they're not even at this point using, well, I would assume they've got to have storms and screens, yeah, or screens at least. She said the insulation factor is such they have no intention, or she has no intention of putting those aluminum ones back up.
It sort of looks like in the application, the picture taken September 2nd of installed new window, it kind of looks like there's a screen there.
It does look like that.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So I was just wondering,
Yep.
so those are probably either vinyl or metal.
I'll ask, I would think so, yeah. I'll have to,
Yeah.
I will ask her.
Yeah.
Because the window picture here,
Pardon?
the window picture here, the siding, is that wood also, the very...
There clearly, yeah, there clearly is, in a number of areas, from what I saw, and there was, mind you, there was a window that hadn't been taken out yet, more near the back door, and, you know, it clearly had vinyl trim around it, And, you know, from what I see here, you know, it looks to me like there, you know, may or may not be some vinyl trim. You know, where you see the gray, to me it looks kind of brown, but the gray, you know, there's clearly, you know, I could clearly see vinyl trim, you know, around edges there.
Yeah.
So, I'm certainly not a building expert, but, you know, bottom line is it should have come before you folks prior to.
Yeah, actually, I drove by and saw the work going on, and Jill saw the work going on, and that's why we contacted you, so that we could follow up. That's kind of an important point to make, just because when there is work going on in the historic district and somebody notices it, we need to make sure they're aware, because most time people are still learning that they need to be, you know, if they're making exterior changes, major changes, that they need to be in contact with us. So anyway.
She clearly knew. She said we had no problem being in the historic district. They knew it. They wanted an older home. And I don't know if she's married or not, but the home is in her name. You know, she knew it, and, you know, and I know whoever she was working with, she basically told her, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You know, you're replacing wood with wood, and that's not how it works, technically.
I mean, if it were duplicated exactly, then I don't think she'd need to come before us. But when it's a pre-manufactured window from a, you know, a chain company that might, is it wood clad? That's, I guess, a question I had.
Right.
It's clearly wood on the interior, but is it wood on the exterior? Because actually our business is with the exterior.
Right.
You know? So I'm not seeing that in this explanation necessarily, so maybe I'm overlooking the fine print on that, but that's what I couldn't really see.
I think that's what we were asking you to check on, Mike. Did they tell you whether or not the wood was exterior as well as interior?
I am under the impression the exterior is wood, but I will certainly, you know, I've got to ask Angie a couple other questions anyway, you know, but, you know, I just, you know, I hope so. I mean, I hope so.
When you do that, would you also ascertain if there are any changes being made to that bay window complex in the front? So, I mean, we couldn't tell from the application.
The bay window to me clearly looks like the exterior looks vinyl, but I will ask permission to go on the property and look closer.
Or if she would be interested in going with wood, even though it's already vinyl.
Well, great question. They've had some surprises with the house that they didn't expect.
Mike, that one sentence where it says the wood frames are not being replaced, but only the window sections, so they're just doing sash replacements?
That is my understanding. You know, the wood frame is all left. You know, the contractor, and she said the wood frame that was there is left. They took out, put in.
Okay, because those were probably painted as well.
They were evidently you know, they've been working with people with this Healthy Homes of Michigan, and, you know, obviously things have, you know, the people they were working with should have obviously been working with us or making sure she was...
If she can't give us this information, I would think she could, but, I mean, could she, I'm assuming that she can get it from a contractor and just try to define exactly what materials we're talking about,
Wood,
number one.
Exterior and interior, and
also what's going on with the bay window, if anything, and what's going on with the back window,
Right.
if anything.
Right.
So we've got those three questions. It does appear like she followed the design.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I think you're okay with the design. But
Now, I had a question about, you know, like, whatever, the roof that's coming up, that kind of, it's asphalt already, and it's going to asphalt again. I was under the impression if either it's already an aspect of the home that's not contributing, like vinyl.
Correct.
Even if there's wood under that vinyl, if she wanted to replace the vinyl, we couldn't make her go back to wood, because there's already vinyl she could replace with vinyl over it if she wanted, you know what I mean, that kind of a thing. And then the same with an asphalt roof. Obviously, it wasn't asphalt originally, but that, why does she need to even, as long as it's like for like, I don't think she needs to come before us for the roof.
She doesn't, that's actually maintenance.
Yeah, it's just even these windows, if it was really like for like, she shouldn't need to
She doesn't
even
have to come back to us.
present it to us, you know?
Okay, for the roof asphalt with asphalt.
She doesn't have to talk to us about painting the porch.
Right.
If she changes the porch out, then we, you know, she'll have to come
Make
before
it clear she's painting the porch, because you can see in this picture.
Yeah, those things are all maintenance.
Yeah.
I'm not saying...
And that's, I've told her, painting, you know, repair of the chimney, those are maintenance, and
And replacing asphalt shingles with asphalt shingles is the same.
good to go, so.
So you're saying we don't need to take action on this?
Well, I think, we're just talking about the other items there, just to clarify those items.
I see.
But I think that, right now, I'm not sure we can really take action until we get some
More information.
definite
Right.
information from her, so,
Sure.
Table this item?
yeah, we're gonna have to table it for now,
Okay.
till next month, and
How many windows are left to replace?
My understanding is every single one of the double-hung windows has been replaced.
Has already been replaced?
Yes.
So we are dealing just with the bay window and that rear
The
window?
bay window and the rear window, yes.
Are the only
That's,
question
from what I
marks
could tell, you know, based on the number of these storms, those storms that were taken out, there was a group of them lying against the side of the house in the back also, or along the side here. Just to the left of here, there were a bunch of them leaning against, but, you know, this is the one side. It looked to me, based on the stickers and the windows, being new, that it looked like they all were, you know, they popped them out and popped them in very, very fast.
So if she's not going to do anything with the bay window or the rear window, and all of the double hungs have already been done,
we still need to...
we still have to approve what she's already done?
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario is, and there are communities that do this, I mean, they'll make...
take 'em out?
Yeah,
They can take them
That
out,
was gonna be
yeah?
my question first for my own
yeah.
knowledge, like, because it seems like it's relative that they were done, so if they were wood and she replaced them with wood, but the vinyl exterior, would we have the right to make hers?
Yeah, we do, but, you know, that's a decision we have to make. I mean, this is where it gets really tough, you know, because obviously...
Let's hope they're wood on the outside too,
Cross their fingers.
hopefully.
Yeah, she did a good job.
And took care of that.
I do too. Most of them are not, and especially if they're by manufacturer.
Yeah.
Usually they are vinyl clad on the outside. But we gotta have it verified anyway, and then we'll have to make a decision based on that. You know, it's just, it's a tough situation. Again, this is where we need to continue to educate homeowners, because pulling out original wood windows and replacing them with manufactured windows it's a big step. You know, it does affect the integrity of the building. The vinyl trim around it, I think, has been there for a long time, and I don't think that was necessarily added now. I think that had been added when they put the vinyl siding on, but the window itself.
Well, for what it's worth, visually, without the vinyl storms, I think it's going to look better.
Right.
You know?
And they did do a good job with the design. You know, it does match what was there prior to, as far as design goes.
She said the insulation factor on these is very high.
On this sheet here, it says like triple, I think I read triple glass on my...
So that would be the second page, the bottom. The thing on...
optional triple pane
Well,
glass.
the thing on their windows is 30 pages, you know, the Pella, because I just real quick looked that up.
Find out if it's...
You know, from this that she gave us, you know, I looked up, you know, the Pella website, and of course this architectural series, you know, it was 30 pages. So I went right to the double hung,
Right.
you know, I went right to the double hung and printed 2 pages
Right.
of the 30.
there's probably all different options, wood, exterior, vinyl clad, aluminum. Yeah,
30 pages of options.
yeah, okay.
But at least we know what they have here, and if she can verify those facts with us and what she's doing with those other two windows, then,
One way or another.
yeah, we can at least make a ruling on it at our next meeting.
Because honestly, when you look closely at the picture, not the double hung itself, but exterior to that, the framing that's there, it's like even the white, not just the gray outer, you have the dark gray, and then there's a little layer of whitish, grayish, and then there's a white.
Yeah.
But all the white that's really closest to the window, the little seams, if you look at them, that all looks like vinyl too,
Oh,
Sort of the edges, the jumbos, yeah.
The bay window is vinyl, is if, again, you mentioned, Glenn, the trim. And the trim clearly is different than, you know what I mean?
Okay, and
Everything but the window.
I think that's what we're gonna have to do at this point.
But that may
Yeah.
have been there.
And then, I think regarding those other two issues with the painting of the porch and the asphalt shingles, we just need to let her know those are maintenance items and she doesn't have to come back on those.
Yep.
She recently take the siding off the porch,
Yes. Yep.
and she doesn't,
She said, I
Go
want
back
to
to the
paint
original?
it. She said, I want to paint it.
and she's keeping the pillars?
Yeah, it looks like it. The pillars, actually, you look at these, they're round. And if you look at here, they look square.
They're on a
See?
square, like a square plinth.
Yeah, it looks like a square pillow with some vinyl siding running up them.
Yeah, like they boxed them in with those...
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see that.
This is,
They printed that off.
and these are round. I noticed that. I noticed
Actually,
that.
Yeah, that's
That's
great,
improvement.
because that's more
Really
authentic.
great.
That's like
Yeah.
showing you what it originally looked like. I
Right.
noticed that in the back, too, that they've got the shingles in the enclosed area of the porch, and that's been exposed for a while, too. That they just removed the siding there, so they must have done that at the same time.
But
they haven't done
clearly
anything.
said, she says, I wanted an older home, and she says it was in the historic district, and, she said that was certainly not that was something she wanted, was an older home, but obviously the paint situation in her child's health,
Looks like she's done something with the railing too, because the railing on the 2002 picture looks like a black,
Yeah,
and the current picture looks wood.
unless that was done before she moved in.
True.
I'm not sure when that was done.
Someone has done something since 2002
Right.
to the railing.
railing.
possibly her, possibly somebody else, but so.
Well, that's interesting, because those are definitely old Newell posts.
Yeah, they are. Right.
Some of them was
wondering
wondering
if
original, or did they find them?
somewhere and put them up.
Yeah, because they found them appealing.
Well, she's heading in the right
posts,
direction.
but-
Let's just...
Yeah.
You might want to ask her about that. Just ask her about those handrails and, if she found those someplace and reinstalled them, because the former photo that we're looking at shows a black wrought iron.
Right.
That is the same
Yeah,
porch,
that's
right?
an interesting
Yeah.
point.
Not the back?
That's an interesting point, because, that was here just a couple weeks ago, and that other one was 2002.
Right. But the paint looks worn on it, so it does look like it could have been...
Well, we know what it was like underneath the siding.
Yeah, it looks like she...
My guess is she probably took that siding off there.
Yeah, I think she did. But I don't know about the handrail, if she installed that or somebody prior to her did.
Is this the one that's beside an empty lot?
Yes.
Yep.
It's
But
a huge lot.
I think that porch was stripped before recently. It's been a while, and those posts have been there a long time, because I liked them, and I'm like, oh, I'm taking a picture of those because mine's, like, I didn't have any posts, So I was just thinking of ideas of what do I do for posts,
It's on the corner
I
of...
remember this 15 years ago,
There
somebody,
was-
I don't know if it was in front of our group, but somebody was talking about taking off all this stuff. I don't know if it was in front of our group or somebody...
You're right.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time
12 or
ago.
some years ago, they were talking about restoring the porch.
Did Jeff Campbell own that home?
Yes, he did.
That was when? It was
think
Jeff
that's when it
Campbell.
was done?
It was Jeff Campbell.
Well, we know
that, like-
Jeff Campbell's an exterior painter. Yep. He's an exterior painter, so maybe
Came to us.
he did it
They
then.
talked about restoring the porch back, but he
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
Well, Angie, now I, of course, dropped off not your entire packet, but I did drop off in her mailbox, just like yours, the staff report, and I included for her the picture from 2002, just so she could have it, you know, but, so.
She might not have done this work then, but it might be worth asking.
Sure, yeah, well,
Because I'm like, oh, those are those posts I like, wait a minute. Those have been there a while. They're getting rougher, you know, as far as needing paint, but...
Well, between work and child and things at the home and the yard, she goes, it's been a little stressful.
Okay. I think we can probably move on at this point then, Mike, you know what?
We need a motion to table.
You think? Okay. Is there a motion to table this until we have more information?
So moved.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mike. You want to start on the old business and...
Well, we're going to do the...
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, right.
Oh, yes.
We want to do the discussion of organization officers for next year. Ed is asked to have a discussion on that. So Ed, do you want to go ahead and...
Well,
bring up?
this is precipitated, we've had some discussion at meetings here about the upcoming vacancy of our chair, and we've all discussed, passed around in the past. In fact, the last round of organization for this board was like a hot potato. Nobody wanted to take it, and we sort of left it. Unfortunately, you weren't here at the time, Dan.
Like that mattered.
So, but just in order to be upfront with the public and everybody else here, your intent is to leave the chair and the HDC at this point effective in November 1st, say, is that
Correct.
right? If that happens, also, we have then the chair. Now, our vice chair, we think, under the rules, can step up automatically, but if we're going to have to go through the election process come January, wouldn't we be better off to just go ahead? The other question is your role as a member of this commission on the Cobbs and Mitchell Task Force. I assume you were leaving that as well, since you're leaving. So I guess, just to get this off the dime, and we've kicked it around, it would be my intent, if it is possible, to nominate Mark Schneider as chair of the HDC after you have left it. And I know that leaves the secretary position vacant and the task force, Cobbs and Mitchell task force position vacant. I would suggest that Jill Brown be put back on that. She had acted as the member in the organizational part of that while you were absent as vice chair. And unless other folks have different ways to do this, I think we should discuss those at the next meeting, and actually, if we can, Mike, and you will verify this, but I believe we can technically elect the new officer, the new chair, or have Jill step up, whichever we want.
It's actually got to be, I think, the slate of officers, so we wouldn't be just doing president. We'd have to do president, vice president, secretary, and this would be for 2016. So the question is whether we can do it prior to January or not.
Well, we certainly could do the chair, because that will be vacant.
Well, yeah, I just would think, let's check out what the bylaws say and what we are able to do it, you know, because you're going to have to deal with the secretary position, I mean, if Mark takes president, then what are we going to do about secretary? So you've got to at least address that as well.
Doing anything as secretary, because the city administration folks have been very helpful and kind in getting
He does
us all
have to
sorts of
sign-
information organized, but that sort of seems like the role of the secretary on a board, you know
But
what I
he
mean?
does have to sign off.
You'd have to
You
sign off.
still have to have, right, that position still requires a signature to sign
I
off.
didn't know.
I know, it's one of those obscure things. Mark really does do something. He does sign
Am I correct? We've tried to make it painless for you.
Yeah,
He's done a good job.
Right.
well, I could do that.
Well, that might be the answer then. So, table this until the next meeting and just verify that this can be done?
I'll actually...
Because I'll still be here in
I'll read
October.
it carefully tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll try and send you folks an email tomorrow, just reiterating what the bylaws say, and, I mean, I can even copy them and send them to you as an attachment. They're not that long.
So if you do have the chairperson, you're talking about, I guess the question, Ed, you're considering is, you're not talking about for 2016, you're talking about an immediate replacement on November 1st. So,
But we can discuss, I mean, obviously, we should do it with the idea of moving forward. Transition is important. Yeah, that's all. So I just didn't want it to sit
I just don't know
vacant.
how we do that, like if we have to also then do the secretary at the same time, because Mark would no longer be in that position.
I
so-
believe you're right. We'd have to just...
Right.
Right.
Good.
So if you
Unless
could,
we were dwaddling around, isn't the vice right now Jill?
yeah.
Mhm.
So for...
I do not
She
want
could-
to be chair. I do not want to be chair.
Right.
But she could temporarily step in like she did last year.
Oh, sure, yeah, I have no problem doing that, yeah.
Until elections
Right.
in January.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it that way. It's, you guys
I'll
can...
let you know tomorrow.
Okay.
And chances are there wouldn't even be an application and possibly not even a meeting, but you never know.
Well, we have that meeting in October scheduled because of
Right, but
the
Nan will still
training
be
session.
here.
I'll still be here.
Nan will
Right,
still be here.
right. Oh, I see what you're saying. So for future meetings,
It would be the November and December meetings that...
right.
That was kind of what I thought is, you know, just go with your 2016 slate of officers and vote on them, find out when you can vote on them, and then just let it ride out this year the way it is, and have Jill step in as chair until, you know, for November and December. That seems like that'd be the simplest way to do it, but you guys, you know, we can decide at our next meeting, I guess.
I think that sounds logical.
How have you thought about this, Mark? How do you feel about that?
Maybe I could use a couple of months to think about it. Yeah.
You know, and Jill is openly expressing, I don't want to do that, you know.
I don't.
Yeah.
And, you know, at least to hear from all of us or whatever, myself, it's like today, what was I, 15 minutes late, because I had a kid who wasn't where she was supposed to be when she was supposed to be there, and so I'm across town and having to make calls and find her, and you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm still a little bit in the kid stage, so I'm not sure someone that occasionally is rolling, I think I did that 2 or 3 months ago too, because of the same child. So anyway, not the same situation, but something else having to do with just kid stuff, you know? So it's like, that's not really quite appropriate for your chair to have to roll in 10 minutes late, you know what I mean? So, you know, at least for me, you know, I have my own little stuff that I deal with that's not the 9-to-5 job picture right now yet. So I don't, at least as far as that goes, another member of the commission, I'm, you know, maybe not the best person to count on being here 10 minutes early, ready for the meeting to start, you know what I mean? In that venue for
good to know.
a few more years here.
Once we're all out.
I'm in the same boat as Gwen
Yeah.
here. I make my appointments, and if they just keep talking, you know, I can't just say, oh, stop, I have to leave right now sometimes, because I make my appointments to be at people's houses to write their policies.
Right.
So I'm kind of in the same boat where it's just sometimes you just can't get out of where you're at.
A little unpredictable.
Yeah. So Mark,
Well, you know, somebody has to do it, so I suppose, and I would do it and just see how it goes, and
All right.
I think that is wonderful, Mark.
Oh.
I think you do a great job, even if you're just the
it'll be very short.
fallback.
Well, we've been through a lot the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It seems to be getting
we've
more
done a
and
lot of
more involved,
proactive things,
Yes.
too. So, and I don't think,
Exactly.
you know, we're going to have probably as many things like that you have to worry about. I'm really glad that we're having the training next month, too. By the way, 4 o'clock, and it's going to be at least 2 to 2.5 hours, but we need to get the business stuff over with first. So I'm thinking that's the way we'll want to do it, rather than, interrupt the thing and then the session and then go to 5. So we need to really be here at 4 and get going, so we're not here till 8 o'clock, and try to keep the business portion of our meeting as short as we can. So, because I think the training is really important. We're bringing somebody up from Kalamazoo that's very knowledgeable. We have a lot of new people on the HDC. It's just really important, I think, that we try to get as much as we can from her while she's here, because the city's spending money to bring her up, and it's a very important, we really need this.
What time, then, your idea is to put the business portion of the meeting first?
And I can let Sharon know that. I wanted to see how tonight goes and find out if we were going to have some things, and already we know we've got one tabled issue, and you want to talk about the officers, unless, we can maybe make that brief. But it might be worth meeting again in November, December for you all to finalize that. I just don't want to take a half an hour talking about officers when we've got somebody very valuable here that we could be learning from.
Have a work session planned.
Correct. So, I'm just trying to say, if we have any other applications, we're obviously going to have to deal with those as well. So, yeah, we're going to have to do that up front. And I'll have to let Sharon know if that's the case. And I can, Mike and I can send her an email. I always copy him on anything. And
would it be better to keep I know it's a problem breaking up a session, but wouldn't we be better off to keep the work portion of it, particularly if we have an application, the discussion of the officers, et cetera, is one thing. If we have a work application, aren't we better off to keep it at the usual time for that?
is there any reason, well, I don't know. I mean, I thought...
Again, it's up to you folks. We've got a guest coming from out of town. I guess for all practical reasons, one, if you've talked with Sharon recently, let her know if there's anything she needs me to print or anything like that.
She's going to have a PowerPoint,
So she'll
and I don't know if
have
she'll have handouts or if she's
that.
bringing
So she
them.
should
I'll
be able
find
to
out.
just plug this right in and go.
Yeah.
Actually, there's an outlet right here. She can plug her laptop in right up there. And so that, maybe let her know that we'll start at 4:30, maybe.
How long's your presentation?
Well, it's going to be 2 to 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And we are going to have to do something about having, she suggested we go about an hour to an hour and a half and then break and have some snacks or something. So,
Get it done.
well, she thinks that it's going to be hard for everybody to sit for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but...
No, it'll be harder for me to sit after I've had a snack.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's fine. I'll just tell her that then.
However we do it, we need to be very careful, particularly if we're changing the time,
Right.
that it is posted legally
Right.
for open meeting requirements.
Well, unless we made
That's what I was
that, unless we made that be our break.
Yeah.
Have her do an hour,
Yeah.
and then we break from her, and at 5 o'clock go into our meeting, and then go back to her.
I don't know. My gut, I've been to a lot of these training sessions. I really would prefer to get the business out of the way and then go on. And I realize that we're going to have to let them know, we're going to have to publicize this and change that.
It's already been publicized through the Cadillac report multiple times. Ever since
4
we knew.
o'clock?
I've put it in the Cadillac report every month, I think once, twice a month, and it's 4 o'clock. And we, of course, will post it. It'll be posted.
I mean, if somebody has an application, that's going to be very important that they get a direct phone call on that. But for the general public, we don't typically have people show up. Though I know we have to post it, I understand that. But I think if these are just some cursory things that we're going to be handling, I'd rather get that part out of the way and then let her run with it. And I think that would be, I really would highly recommend us follow that.
Yeah, and some of the things are like the old business. If there's any updates next month on the Cobbs-Mitchell or stuff like that, I mean, I can also get some of that information to you folks via email,
Yeah.
I mean...
That would be really helpful. Anything you can get us informationally by email would be really helpful.
Or the packets at the door are even better.
Yeah.
You like that better?
I like both.
We're spoiled.
I spoiled
You can email me if you don't want to walk up those stairs.
Yeah.
Our dog likes you coming to the door.
I'm okay either way, but
Okay.
it's thoughtful that you
He's
bring me to the
lonely.
door. Whatever's easier.
All right, so are we clear on that? That really wasn't on our agenda. We kind of got off on a topic. We kind of moved up into informational item, but we're going to start at 4. We'll do our business till 4:30. We'll start the training at 4:30 and be prepared to be here until 6:30, 7 o'clock. And any informational items, Mike, you can get to us in lieu of discussion here, please do. So let's go on to old business. Do you want to talk to us about anything from...
Real quick, both Scott Starlin, Richard Connie Duncan, just reached out to him with messages, just asked them if they had anything new from their investigations to let us know. Neither one even, I said, let me know if you've got something new. We need to, and neither of them actually got even back to me, and I did word it, if you haven't found anything new to inform us of, you don't need to call me back.
One thing I'd like to add is that Connie I had sent her, as we had talked before, about giving her contractor names. And Ann, you had given me one of yours. I had a couple. So I gave her 3 contractors that could do wood window repair. And I sent it to her in the form of email. I copied Mike on it. But just so you all know, she emailed us back, it was about 3 weeks ago maybe, and she was kind of wanting clarification as to what we had decided at the last meeting. And that's basically where she was going with this. And so we clarified that. And I copied Mike, and I said, Mike, jump in. I just reiterated what we had talked about. And she said, okay. So I think we're on the same wavelength, that she knows what she can and can't proceed with, so.
Yep. Good.
Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Okay, what about the CLG update? Anything new?
I have not worked on it. I haven't had time.
Mike?
I've got some new projects on my plate also.
Okay.
I shouldn't call them projects.
Has Marcus said anything, or, okay.
No, I've got some new things that I've been given recently, and,
Okay.
none of them are projects of this extent, but
Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do before I leave town, which is sometime in November. I'm going to contact Marcus and I'll come in and visit with him, show him what I've done so far, show him what we have talked about, say, if there's something that I can do to help move this forward again, one way or the other. But we've already got a lot of stuff prepped here. It's just a matter of getting you, being able to free time for you.
We've done some,
I'll push as hard as I can before I leave.
there's
And then-
some prep that's been done, there's no question.
Yeah,
We've
but I
got
just-
a file and some information, and
yeah. My concern is that the applications for these grants are due in December, and they are chosen by April or May of the next year. And I was just so hoping that we could get approved and submit an application or two on behalf of the city, that the city could do that by December. That's what I was hoping, but if it's not going to happen this year, it's not going to happen. But I figure I'll give it one more shot. Just wanted to tell you all.
one of the catches and the SHPO grants are great, one of the catches is, you've obviously got to have the commitment of the matching funds, because they do ask for a 50% matching fund. And that's where communities, if you look at the communities that have gotten the SHPO grants, somebody's got to step up with those matching funds, which, we've found in the case of our community, we've had good luck finding organizations to help. Not necessarily the city general fund, but organizations that have helped. Specifically, we couldn't have got a grant to build our new restroom if it hadn't have been for Rotary. They came up with the matching funds. Various things, that's the classic example. And, and that's, we've lost. Actually, we submitted a great grant application just about 3 months ago, and we didn't get it. And we investigated and talked to a couple communities that did get it, and their percentage of what they were asking for, the matching funds the community came up with, exceeded ours significantly. And I know I talked to one city and I said, where'd you guys come up with that money? And they said, we didn't. You know, a local business stepped up and said,
Yeah.
you know, if you can get it, this is what I'll give you. So it's, you know, that's okay. That's okay. They have to have some criteria of how they award and don't award. And that's one of them.
Okay, well, just keep chipping away and try.
We should do it. I mean, we all agree.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything to do it,
Yeah, we all agree it's a good thing to do. Doesn't cost any money, time.
And the city of Cadillac, as far as volunteer groups, has been always really generous. Like you said, Rotary, Community Foundation, there's a lot of them out there that I'm sure could help too with doing some of the matching funds on these grants. But okay, how about Cobbs and Mitchell? What's the latest on that?
Last court date was last Friday. The defendant has filed a new motion. The city now needs to respond to their new motion, and the attorney anticipates the next court date to be in October.
So court date has not been set?
It may have been, but I was told October.
We don't have a date?
I don't have a date, no. But I was specifically, the defendant filed a new motion, and now the city needs to respond to it.
And we don't know what the motion was.
No, I don't.
Why do we not know what the motion was? Is that
Well, right now, everything with the litigation of that is discussed by city council in closed session.
Well, no. If a motion is filed, that's public information in the court.
Yeah.
And if a date is set, that's public information in the court. There's no reason we shouldn't know that.
Well, I will ask.
Yeah, could you email us with that when you
I will ask.
find a little
I
bit of
will ask.
information on it? Yeah.
I'm curious.
What the motion was? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that would have been, September 11th was a scheduled court date.
So you'll email us that information regarding the court date and what the motion was, just informationally, if we can have that. Okay, thank you. Anything else on that?
So when will Joni's first meeting be with us then?
Joni is going to come to the work session in October, because that is technically open to the public.
Yep.
So she can come even though she's coming on board November 1st. So she's agreed to that. So,
November meeting.
yeah, November meeting will be our first official meeting.
I had a person bring up information to me on the Cobbs Mitchell building, and it was a matter of, this is a small town and people talking around town, so it sounds to me like just a hearsay sort of a thing. I don't know. But someone was mentioning that, oh, well, the city talking about moving around some of the resources, and I'm like, well, nothing could really happen anyway, because at the moment, as long as there's litigation, that individual still owns, I'm talking about the Cobbs Mitchell building, that individual still owns the Cobbs Mitchell building. But it being brought up, people talking about the city, if the building were going back to the city, using that for other purposes, like historical society sort of a thing, because they are busting at the seams over at that museum. They always have been, you know, as far as I can tell. But, you know, and then using the Carnegie Library for another resource, what, I don't know. But I'm like, where did this come from?
Mark brought that up too earlier before you got here, and...
Oh, okay.
I'd heard it too, yeah.
So,
But I think it's just sort of discussion purposes that are being kicked around, and
Because nothing can be done
Yeah.
until, you know, it's settled.
plus, we just signed a 99-year lease, you know, the Historical Society signed a 99-year lease for the city, but, you know, I guess that can be dissolved with, I can't recall the details of the lease, but I think, you know, the city owns the building ultimately, and if they own Cobbs and Mitchell, you know, I don't know, I would assume that they would present something to the board of directors of the Historical Society, and there would be a lot of discussion before something like that would ever happen. But
I mean, both are fabulous buildings, and either one could be a museum or any number of uses, you know? But, it's just interesting.
Yeah, it was. I think this came from the city side, actually, just as a discussion as an option. But I also think they were talking about not just the historical side, but maybe some other nonprofits that could also use Cobb's and Mitchell. I think there was sort of a combination of them.
That could,
Yeah. So I think it's just basically discussion.
along the lines of Arts Council and maybe seating all of those in there. Of course, the museum is a physical presence, you know, where they need space. So,
I think at this point, it's just sort of a talking point, right?
Yeah.
It's just-
it can't be any more
It
than...
can't really be anything else. But obviously, this is something that I would think the Cobb's and Mitchell task force would be involved with.
Well, and I can tell you that the Cobb's and Mitchell Task Force has not been contacted about that idea, if there is indeed such discussion going on.
Okay.
So when it starts to meet again, or when and if, then I'm sure that,
Well, it's,
yeah.
I have a question. They don't rent that building out, do they?
Who? The owner?
Cobb's and Mitchell?
No, so okay, no functions, and it's, okay.
As far as I know.
For over a year or so, 2 years then. Okay. Just, I was curious.
It's not, it wouldn't be certified for occupancy currently, because the plumbing doesn't work.
Oh, that might explain it then. Okay. I mean, something else.
Okay.
All right, anything else on that point? And we've already discussed the workshop, so I think that's it. Does anybody have any other commissioner comments they want to make?
We don't need anything for the next training, the workshop on October 12th. We don't need to bring anything, do we?
No, no,
Bottled water.
yeah.
Number 2 lead pencil.
Yeah.
Lots of energy.
Okay.
Coffee.
No public comments? Nothing from Junie? We're looking forward to having you here. Thanks for coming tonight, appreciate it.
Thanks.
I appreciate you coming next meeting as well.
And what about the brick streets?
Pardon?
What about the brick streets?
Any new news on the brick streets, Mike?
You're the one that, you're not that. You should know more than me.
Yeah, but you guys were gonna make something happen.
You and Ken were like this on it.
No, I just met Ken, I'm not that close to him.
Okay.
Okay.
He's the one that's...
Okay, what's his number? Do you have his phone number?
Yeah.
Do you know it?
I'm
right
down
now?
off the top of my head, but I'll be more than happy to...
Well, if you maybe you...
I'll get you his phone number.
Okay, that'd be
There you
great.
go.
Just keep bugging him a little.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're good for that, aren't we?
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have anything, or do we have a motion to adjourn?
No motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.